right.
Erin, welcome. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Haven't seen you in so long.
I know it's been a while.
What, 3 minutes you've been in the car?
I think like 3.5, yeah.
There you go. How's everything going? Good?
Yeah, things are good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
You too.
Thanks for coming on. Appreciate
Definitely,
you.
this is great.
I'm excited to hear about you. So let's get started because it's going to be a pretty good episode, I think.
Fabulous.
I was fascinated by this when we first met. Where'd you grow up?
Wisconsin.
That's so cool.
Yes.
I've never met anybody from Wisconsin.
Really?
Yeah, never.
I feel like
Well,
we all left, so I'm surprised.
That's what it is, right? Well, came to New York, I guess, or where did they branch out to?
Yeah, I think people leave Wisconsin, but it is a great place to grow up. I'm super happy that I grew up there.
Okay. The
then
only
got
one
out
I
of
know
there.
from Wisconsin besides you was Gary Brown, and he didn't live there. He was a football player. He played for the Packers.
Yes.
He played with Brett Favre.
We appreciate him
Yes.
very much.
Great guy. Very good guy, yep. He won that Super Bowl with you guys that one year.
Got it.
So you grew up in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that. Where'd you go to school? What was it like? Was it as snowy as it is? Was it cold? You know?
Yes. This is also why I've decided I don't like to ski because I grew up in the snow when it was like you would wrap the scarf around you and then your snot would become so
Nice.
disgusting coming out that then it would like freeze to your nose.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That
you know,
bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the
definitely
coldest
that
you
bad.
ever?
So I went to school. So I grew up in Burlington, Wisconsin at Southeast. And then I went to school in La Crosse, Wisconsin, which was about a 4-hour drive away. It was probably upper middle of the state on the west side. But there,
So closer to Minnesota?
yeah,
or
we were
so-
right
okay.
on the Mississippi.
Okay.
And there we would actually have school canceled, not because of snow days, but because it was too cold to walk from one side of the campus to the other.
Wow.
Didn't happen that often, but sometimes that would happen. So.
What's cold? 50 below?
Oh, no, I'm being dramatic. It was probably like 20 below with the wind chill,
Still bad.
right? It was never like that without the wind chill, but like with the wind chill, sometimes I get to like 15, 20 below.
Oh, my God. And when did it start snowing there? September, October? Or?
You know, I'm sure now it doesn't start because sometimes when I go home for Christmas, we haven't even had snow yet.
Oh, wow.
But at the time, I feel like it was probably October. We definitely had some snowy Halloweens.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So what's it like growing up in Wisconsin? Like, what do you do?
Oh, yes. What do you do? So I often joke I'm the youngest of 4. I'm 8 years behind my next older sister. So my parents were like, she's not going to die. She's good. So I had 2 rules. One was don't call Claire Brawley before 9 a.m. because
what?
don't call Claire Brawley. She was my best friend
Okay.
before 9 a.m. because I would call and wake up her family at like 6:30 in the morning.
There you
They
go.
did not like that. And then second was check in at noon. I had the best block that I grew up on. So we had Claire, Katie, Jason, and Josh Ludwig, and we would basically just like call each other. We had the woods. It was like a 1/4 acre, but it was like the big forest, right, when we were
Nice.
kids. And we would just roam around that. We'd play with mud on trees and pretend we were giving signals to each other and build forts and just live in this fun little
World.
imaginary world. Yeah.
Wow. And when did that come to an end? When did you?
Reality set in. No, I did that. And then I think it was daycare / learning responsibility for Erin. I had the opportunity to get into horseback riding. And so that was probably my first biggest shift into having a lot of big responsibilities. So I did equestrian show jumping for like 15 years of my life.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Cleaned a lot of
Stalls.
stalls. Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
Can we swear on this?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Clean a lot of shit.
There you go.
And then I think the other reality probably set in when I had to go to college, and
Where'd you go to college?
I went to college at a spot called Viterbi University. It
Never heard.
was, it's in La Crosse, Wisconsin. It's a smaller school. And they took 8 students a year for musical theater, 4
Oh,
boys,
wow.
4 girls. So I got into that. Actually, I think it was waitlisted, and then I somehow got into it. Thanks, whoever left.
Yeah.
And then I got into it, went to school there. And yeah, that was
When did you leave Wisconsin?
2008.
2008. And where'd you go?
Yeah, so I graduated, and then I did some regional theater. And then I was like, I can't go back to Wisconsin. So I bought a one-way ticket to New York.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And what'd you do from that?
So got to New York. I auditioned a ton. I was lucky, worked with an off-Broadway theater company. Godlight, shout out Joe Tantalo. And we worked together, um, just doing some shows whenever they
What
had
did you
enough.
do?
They were all original pieces.
Okay.
So we did one, it was called Winky. It was about a bear that came to life. We did another one that was
Winky?
Winky, yeah.
Is that off that show with Mark Wahlberg? Or?
Right? No, it should have been. We were throwing stuffed animals at the end of it. It was very interesting. We also did one that was written by a gentleman. Why can't I think of the name of it? Winters something. It was written by a homeless man in New York City. We
Interesting.
got to workshop that and then perform that one.
Do you sing or the?
It was mostly acting. I went to school singing, but that was mostly acting. I think in Winky, actually, we had one song.
Okay.
So that was, I think, the only song.
That's pretty cool. Did you ever work with Laura?
No.
Or Cook or how about anybody else in our office? Did you ever work with her? Okay.
No.
So
Yeah.
what's that like though? You're in Broadway or off Broadway. What's that life like?
Much like starting in real estate, it's a lot of no's. It's a lot of preparing for things.
How many auditions do you go on a week? When you get a job, is it steady?
Jobs are never steady.
So Winky wasn't like a 9 to 5 and then a.
No, it was. It was like the performance was steady, but like within the theater company, if there was another show that didn't have a role for you, like you just weren't employed, I guess. And the auditions were great. TV was better because it would pay you, and you would be on there for just a couple of days. And then you would, be out there trying to find your next role.
What did you do for TV?
I did some, like the reenactment shows. So Evil Lives Here, I did an episode on that. Like the True Detective kind of things. Not HBO True Detective, but the
I get it.
Discovery True Detective. Did a couple things on that. I did a pilot.
Were you like the victim or were you the cop?
Well, one of them.
Did you have to lay down?
Right. No, I did not die. Once I was actually both times I think I was accused of being the murderer.
Okay.
Once I was the scorned ex-wife.
Scorned ex-wife. There you
who
go.
may have come back and killed her husband. You never know. Once I did a pilot, Louis Guzman directed it, which was really cool to work with him. That pilot didn't turn into anything, but I got to kiss Scott Baio. He was like a childhood crush growing up, and I played this role who, my name was Blonde, which is hysterical because I've never been blonde in my life. I think they took pity on me, and they were like, she can play the role. But I got to make out with him, and I remember going home to my boyfriend at the time, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got to make out with Scott Baio." And he was like, "Could you stop?"
Yeah, I
was
would not be happy with that. Then
we didn't last, needless to say.
Exactly. Scott Baio took it, but that's funny. Wasn't he just accused of something, Scott Baio?
Probably. I think he started a cult.
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then, I think he's got like suits out of him now for sexual harassment on that show that he was on. What was he on? Whatever it was.
I remember
not Boy Meets Girl. It's one of those shows that he was back on in the 80s. I think they're all coming out accusing him. I just saw that.
Sorry, Scott.
Yeah, it is what it is. So how long did you do TV and off Broadway? And are you still doing it? Or?
No, I'm not doing it. I do have a YouTube channel, though. Shout out Luxury Living NYC.
Okay. Which I love.
Oh, thank you. I did it, and I bartended at the time, right? Like it was never steady enough that you made money. So I was always bartending on the side. I bartended my way through college.
So is it like the same thing in real estate? Sorry to cut you off. Where everybody thinks you're a billionaire because you're in the real estate world, and since you're an actor, everybody thinks you're.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, you're making it." I'm like, "I didn't work for 5 months. Yay!"
Wow.
Kind of, but yeah, you just need that side hustle. I think I'm really fortunate growing up. Actually, going back to Wisconsin, I think I'm really fortunate growing up in Wisconsin. My parents really instilled in me the hustle mentality. Like, you work hard for what you get. Don't just expect things to come easy. Which maybe I should work on that thought. But yeah, I think that made me continue with the hustle of all the no's and everything from auditioning. And I do often think now, if going back, knowing now what I know, I probably would have had a different acting experience because I just thought of it as like audition, you get it or you don't, move on. But what I've learned now just from a business aspect of like staying in touch. Like, what if I would have stayed in touch with the casting directors that casted me? What if I would have sent postcards to the managers that I wanted to work with? Things like that, right? The follow-up and 36 touch, if you will, that we learn now. Like, what would that career have looked like? And I think it would have looked different. Yeah, I just did a lot of auditions. I don't think I'm answering your question because I think I forgot it. And worked in bartending and in the service industry.
So what was that? So you're working nights bartending during the day?
Mostly days bartending, unless we were in rehearsal. And then at night we would perform, or I was working nights bartending when I wasn't in anything. And I would audition during the day.
Okay. And then when was it where you just said, oh, enough of this shit?
There was a day that
You remember it, the day? Or?
There was a very clear moment that I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I was helping a boyfriend at the time to find an apartment.
Okay.
And I had, some days off. He worked 9 to 5. And I went to one apartment, and now I was like, oh, this is the gimmick that people did, right? The bait and switch. I didn't know what that was at the time. And brought me to a couple other apartments, found one. I helped him put all of his paperwork together. And then when I turned everything into this agent, I also turned over this check. And I was like,
damn.
What? Yeah, I was like, I make this in 3 months and you get this once?
And I did the work.
Yeah. I was like, this is crazy. And I was like, I think I need to be in real estate. I had so much fun in that process. My oldest sister in Wisconsin, I think her and her husband have 45 doors. So I've always seen real estate. I haven't thought about it, but I've always seen it. And I was able to make the correlation of a way to make wealth. And I also, funny enough, I had a friend that worked for a financing company, and I would be like, I found this building down on the Lower East Side, and it's falling apart. And I found the owner, and they said that they would turn it into something. And he's like, why are you not
doing this?
So yeah, I think just seeing that, I was like, oh, I need to make a shift.
What year was this?
2011.
2011. Okay, so what did you do there? You get your license.
Yep.
Where'd you end up?
I ended up reaching out to that agent that I helped him find the apartment through. He was at a company called AC Lawrence.
Yep.
And so I went there, and he was like, I'll mentor you. I was like, awesome. So I started in the business. The thing that I think about, though, is I feel as though this was pre-Street Easy. So this is a very different industry to get into then. We put ads on Craigslist. That's how we got people, right? And the renter, I feel more renters, maybe more consumers needed the real estate agent versus now in rentals, people still need you, but maybe just not as many because there's so much information that's out there for the consumer now. So got started in rentals. I will say one thing, I still kept acting in the beginning, but it was very much a rental hustle. And if you thought about sales, it was like, no, forget that. That takes forever to close. Just focus on the rentals. That's kind of the mentality of the company that I was at.
Okay.
So
everyone I talked to is from there says the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I mean, people made insane money in rentals. People still make insane money in rentals. But I wish there was a different mentality. Regardless, so that was my first jaunt into real estate.
So 2011, you're there. How long did we stay in the rental business?
So the timeline is a little fuzzy, but I started working with Matthew Tully, who's actually still with us. It was nice because if he had a gig outside, I would cover for him. If I had a gig outside, I'd cover for him, or he'd cover for me, whatever. And we also worked with a third person at the time. And I went to, I went to another company. They were really big in rentals. I was there for one day, and I was like, guys, this is not where we need to be. Left, went back to AC Lawrence. Then we went somewhere else. I think Remax was starting off. We were there for 45 days, and we're this isn't right. We went back to AC Lawrence, which then was also Bellmark. And then we went to Marone Properties, which...
Oh, so you were Remax in the city?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't think they didn't stay around long.
I don't think they're still there.
Yeah,
I don't know for sure. I don't think so. Then went to Marone Properties, and that was great. It was a boutique feel. The gentleman, Jeff, who ran it was, I think, very much of the right mentality about getting into sales. I also think that he really comes from contribution and a servant's heart, which spoke to me a lot. So we were there for a while, and then our biggest client was an investor who was backing somebody in starting a real estate company. So it was kind of like, if you want the business, you have to come with me. And it was like, okay, well, I guess we're going to go. And that's when I learned that that world was not for me. We were there for like 6 months. It was just chaos. There were no systems, no models, no nothing. And there was a gentleman, Guy Fan, who we had a sale. I think it didn't end up going through with him. It went through with somebody else, but he sent me a message. He was like, sorry, it didn't work out. By the way, you'd make a great Keller agent. And I was like, huh. So it always kind of stuck with me. And then when it was time to leave that startup company, met with so many different companies. And at this time, I believe it was just Matt and I. And we ended up walking into Keller Williams, and it was like,
where's this now? This is the one in Trump Towers? Or?
this was right after Trump Towers on Park.
Okay.
And it was this completely different feeling. Everybody seemed to be working with each other. They had a classroom where you could learn. I was like, what is there's classes in real estate? Crazy idea. Mm-hmm. And then we went and we met with the team lead at the time.
I was going to ask you, who was the TL at the
Eric.
time? Eric Barron.
Yes. And we weren't getting paid from our last company because they had some paperwork that they were legally supposed to have us sign that they didn't have us sign, and they were holding our checks until we signed paperwork. But Eric was like, hey, we have an attorney. We'll get him in on this and make sure you guys get paid. And I was like, wait, you would like do something for us? It was crazy, right? So different. I mean, we had like met with so many different companies to see which one would be the right fit, but it just felt like a home. So then we ended up there.
So you end up in Keller Williams. Mm-hmm. And so Guy Fan was your first point of contact to Keller Williams.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
And then Guy Fan came back, was it 2 years ago?
I think so, yeah.
So amazing how, and again, the city has seen this a lot. People left and then come back in the Keller world. It's not the same. And not to knock anybody else, it's just a different type of world that we have.
Mm-hmm. And I sorry to cut you off.
No, please.
I think you're absolutely right. It's a different world, but it's not for everyone.
That's right.
Right? Like I know a lot of agents who would rather pay money for leverage and not have to deal with a lot of things versus other people that see the excitement in building the business and being more in control and, the bigger picture. Like I would have never had the global opportunities that I've had if it wasn't for this company, right? I wouldn't even have thought big enough if it wasn't for this company. You're like ancillary businesses. What is that? Yeah. But then here, I think people that want that and want that vision, it's definitely,
well, it's more of a, I guess, entrepreneurial business start where everybody says they are, but really, and again, this is not to knock any of it. We were talking about this in the car. It's just a different way. We do it a different way. But it was interesting when I took this over, like all the people that I talked to where Keller was right for the city, because I was approached when it first was opening up, mm-hmm. and I said no to it. I was at Bayside at the time. I was like, nah, it's not going to, Remax didn't make it, this one didn't make it, Exit didn't make it, yada. So I was like, why is Keller going to go in there and do it? And with Alon, he, I think Alon's a great guy. I appreciate him for giving me the opportunity to take over what he built. He had to run it that way to get it going because, mm-hmm. the models, the franchise model at that time just wasn't working in the city.
Yeah.
So we really had to run it sort of like where he came from, which was Douglas Element and, doing all of these, crazy things with expenses and all of that. And then when we came in, everybody was so Kellerized like you guys. And that's why I thank you guys so much for hanging in there and mm-hmm. really appreciating what Keller did, where I was just giving it up a hand because everybody wanted it to be a Keller Williams. And I remember promising you guys, I don't know if you remember this, was I will turn it into a Keller. Mm-hmm. And I will make sure that it runs like a Keller. And whether you like it or not, that's what it's going to be because that's the only way I know how to do it. But it was so interesting, what Manhattan was really like back then, especially coming in. So what year was it when you joined Keller?
14.
And then you saw it go from Eric Barron to Leslie, I guess, right?
Yes.
And then what was that like? Because I think you speak very highly of the way she ran it with the accountability, and we were talking about this, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I actually feel like I owe a lot of the successes that the team has had to Leslie and to the platform because she came in the same mentality that you're saying. It was no bullshit. We were there for maybe 2 weeks and immediately Ignite started. Maybe not even 2 weeks, but Ignite started. But Ignite was every day. You were in at 8:30. They had a leadership board or not leadership board, a leading board.
A
What
lead
is
board,
it?
whatever.
Yeah, whatever. So, but it was rankings, right? So how many contacts did you
Oh,
have? How
okay.
many appointments did you send? Um, and why can't I think of the word for it? Doesn't matter. Um, but you came in with this, and competition is my number one strength. If
Sure.
anybody's done Strength Finders, so for me, that just spoke to me immediately. I was like, wait a second, I get to win the day, win the appointments, win the contacts.
That's right.
So I love that. But also, I was in there with some other amazing brokers, right? Janet from another company. I know Laura Cook was just starting. Rich Murray had come from another company. So there's a lot of people with these mindsets of, oh wait, that doesn't work here. Oh, you want us to write out handwritten note cards and send it to people? Like, this
not
is
gonna
New
happen.
York. That's
Yeah.
not going to work. And I love that she just stayed true to the model. Everything that we said, she was like, well, let's dig into that.
Mhm.
Why do you think it can work? What if you just tried it? And I appreciate that so much because that made me question all of my thoughts of what can and can't work here. And the second class is the database class. And I was really lucky before I got into real estate. As I was bartending, so funny, I was selling cloud computing.
Okay.
And it was before everything. I used to go into companies and be like, the cloud. And people are like, this is never going to work.
Cloud. Never gonna work.
Now I'm like, man. But the person who owned that company, he had a database. So I learned the idea of a database. So before going to Keller Williams, I had this database. I'd write notes. Everybody went into it. It was attached to my email. There were thousands and thousands of people in this database, right? And she spoke about the database in terms of the 36 touch, right? Getting people's permission, following all of this stuff, all of these models that we have at KW. And I was like, Matt, what if we just try this? Let's do it. And he agreed. And so we downloaded everybody out of it. And then no one went in unless we got on the phone with them and we asked their permission to put them back in. We found out what their goals were. We put notes. We had their complete information. What was their address? And I think that was a huge turning point for my business. It took years to show up, but I think that moment right there was such a huge turning point for my business because A, it gave me buy-in because it started to work. B, it gave me longevity because probably within 6 years, 40 to 50% of the business was people calling me versus me calling them.
Wow.
And it's only grown from that. And I think if it wasn't for this model and somebody making us or asking us, I should say, to challenge our beliefs and what can happen and how things can be run in New York City, I probably wouldn't be where I am.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Right, the way, and again, we're talking a lot about this in the car, where the opportunity that comes because of it, and what would have it looked like if it didn't happen, and
Yeah.
where would we be? So 2016, you're running with Keller, right? You're doing your thing. When did you really get into sales? I know you were in the rental game.
Yeah.
Was it Keller that got you into the sales, or did you do it beforehand and then jumped
Mhm.
into it, and then when did you really get the team up and running? What year was that?
Yeah. So started in sales a little bit before coming to KW.
Okay.
And then really kind of tried to push into the sales at KW. And then, the team, I'm the youngest. I'm a rebel at heart. I need to do things my own way and learn a lot of lessons, sometimes more
That's a good
than
thing.
twice or three times.
Mhm.
So I think we immediately started the team game. We were like, the MREA, this is so great. We're going to do it our own way.
Okay.
Brought on 8 agents. That failed. So tried it a few different times. Then one time I had a few agents. It was
8 didn't work. Let's do 16. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And one admin, that makes
Right.
so much sense, of course. And then I think actually Matt and I ended up separating ways, which we're still on good terms.
Yep.
And I think we got it to a really good place with an admin, and we had 2 to 3 agents. It was going really well. And then another team in the office was like, hey, what if we join forces?
Okay.
And I think it was something that needed to be explored because I always would have wondered if we didn't. We ended up joining, and I think maybe there weren't clear enough expectations. Also, I would say probably mainly on my part of what I thought everything meant in terms of expectations and
Sure.
next steps. And I also later had people come back and say that I had left because the people I brought there all ended up leaving. And their main feedback to me that I didn't ask them, of course, until later, why I don't know, was it just changed. The culture shifted. So I think that was a really big lesson for me in terms of culture. I don't think I realized how much culture I was bringing.
Sure.
And then I also just realized I think it was just a different vision, different place. So then fast forward, I was on my own for a bit. And then 2020 happened, and I was like, oh, this is an amazing opportunity to really rebuild it under my name the right way. All of these times I've read the MREA, I should probably
So
follow
crazy.
it,
Yeah.
you know?
So when did you follow it?
Yeah,
Or
so
didn't you?
I know I feel like I'm still not a little bit, but 2020 really started following it. The only difference is I added a showing agent first just because we don't have lock boxes, things like that. And I do
Sure.
know now the new MREA showing agents first. So maybe Gary got an idea for me. I'm
There you
kidding.
go.
Absolutely not. But started it that way, got an admin in place, and really started running it the way that the MREA model had it.
Okay, so 2020, you're running it, and
Hmm.
this is obviously during COVID. What's that
Yeah.
like? We're talking a little bit about this in the call. What was
Yeah.
COVID like for you? I told you what it was like for me,
Yeah.
and I really didn't get into your world. What was it like? Terrifying? Was it
Yeah.
not worried too much? A little bit concerning? What was it?
So I was not too, I was worried about the business because it was like 4 or 5 months that we couldn't show apartments. Um, so gosh, I'm like, how much do I say? Um, I I started just with a showing agent and I didn't hire the admin until August of that year.
Okay,
I was really fortunate that I had a sight unseen sale done. I was really fortunate for things that I had in contract that were still able to close, but getting new business was just not that possible when you couldn't get into homes. And then when you could get into homes, it was the most ridiculous thing ever. We'd be walking around with like plastic gloves on
remember that?
and masks, and we'd have to like we'd have to wipe everything down between showings, and we had to have everybody sign these COVID forms so they
Remember
would,
that?
hold harmless. And they were
Sure.
like, keep this on file for 6 years because someone can come back and sue you. I'm like, 6 years? What is happening? So it was definitely different. And then you'd have to eventually, then some buildings, you had to register your vaccine card with them. People couldn't even come see homes if they weren't vaccinated. So it was a very interesting world. I think I have a lot of separate opinions on that. But when it comes to work, it was it was a time to be lean and nimble, but also because my dad would say like fire, ready, aim
Mm.
is how I get through life, which is not always the best. So I think it almost forced me to do it solely. So I moved my database over. I took time in the hiring process. I think I just slowed down enough to see how to do things the right way because I didn't have the opportunity to do it the wrong way.
Okay, that makes sense. When did, speaking about opportunity, right? You mentioned that word a couple of times. What was your first big opportunity in the Keller Williams world?
Say my first big opportunity was just joining KW.
Okay.
Um, but in the thinking bigger perspective, I had the opportunity actually, it was January 2020 to speak at family reunion in France.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I've always been obsessed with traveling. I think people who love to travel and don't understand the opportunity you have within Keller Williams need to go look at Keller Williams worldwide immediately. I love that every time I travel, I get to go speak at an office and tax deduct part of my
Sure.
trip. It's amazing. And so when I was given that opportunity, it opened up my eyes because I also got to meet Stefan Meyer, and he sponsored KW
Wow.
France. And I was like, wait, you did what? And how does this work? And you get what out of it? And it was pretty amazing. I also got to meet Bill, right, head of KW Worldwide. And just the exposure of that opened up my eyes so much to what's possible within this world. And at the time, I was dating somebody who was from Europe, lived in Greece, and I was from the US, obviously. And during COVID, I couldn't go there and he couldn't come here. And so he was like, let's meet in Albania. And the first thing I did, besides look at where it was on a map, I'm ashamed to say, but I did, was like, I'm like, Bill.
Show me something in Albania.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to go to Albania and there's no KW there. What do I do? And the first thing he said was, does your dad know? Have you seen Taken? I was like, he's okay with it. I actually don't know if he didn't know at the time, but anyways,
Seen Taken.
right. So he put me in touch with Lisa Lett, and she and I started talking about, what does it look like to sponsor a country? And though my candidates didn't end up winning the country, the conversations that I had with people there and just how to tell a story to get buy-in without asking someone for buy-in taught me so much. And I was able to create enough relationships there so that now within KW Albania, we have a new development that we're working on over there. And if I didn't build those relationships, I would not have had those opportunities there, which have, of course, led into other opportunities as well. So
you're what in Albania now?
So I have a team of 2 people over in Albania, and we're selling out a new development.
Okay.
He said residence, look it up. Yeah, and then hopefully that will lead to other developments there as well.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Do you have any kind of ownership in the market centers? Or?
I do not.
Okay.
No, I have ownership in Scotland.
Scotland?
Yes.
Okay. What's that look like?
That is also amazing and fascinating. So I'm learning
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. So Ev Foster, she is phenomenal. I knew her before the opportunity came around. She's just a powerhouse and such a believer in the model. And she has created an amazing team over there. And they were just looking at one point for someone to bring some equity in exchange for like teaching classes, right? Some sweat equity. Equity for sweat equity.
Mm-hmm.
And I get so much joy out of teaching. I really do. I feel like I've learned everything I know from what people have taught me. And so being able to teach and inspire others, help other people is so in my joy zone that the opportunity was an absolute yes. I was like, okay, I get to learn the market center financials. I get to learn how to run the business from a different perspective, and I get to give back to people. It was a no-brainer.
What's the difference between there and here?
Oh my gosh.
Like in real estate.
There's so many differences. It is so fascinating. So buyers, which I'm working with them on, but it's not that big of a thing there, right? Like buyers, agents would get paid only from the buyer side. So it is definitely a mindset shift. Even listing agents is a big mindset shift for them. Scotland works much like London, that the majority of the agents are salaried agents. And so it's a lot of working on the value proposition. We have been, for probably the last 6 months, really honing in on how to do open houses and having that as value proposition, because that just never happened there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so we've been working just a lot on that, how to change the mindset of the agents in terms of what open houses can bring for you, what the lead generation can bring for you.
Sure.
And it's really fun for me because I get to open my mind of not only what is the value proposition for an agent who was salaried to now be commission only, right? But then also this commission only to change their mindset about doing open houses and what lead generation can be. But then also how can you change their mindset about how to do lead generation when their mindset is also only in half of the transaction. So like we're here, we get wins out of buying and selling and also quite frankly leasing, right? They are of the mindset eventually of the lead gen for sellers. And so it's a really fun evolution that I'm so grateful to be a part of in working with their team, which again, it's a phenomenal leadership team over there. What they're doing in terms of like evolving the cap a little bit, different things like that. It's just, it's phenomenal, and I'm learning so much through it.
That's awesome. How many agents are in there?
Oh my gosh, Steven's going to be so mad because he gave me the sheet 2 weeks ago. I think we're at 56.
56.
Or 62.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somewhat in a number.
Yep.
How long is that open?
This is the funny part. So Ev took it over, and has been a part of it for 5 years.
Wow.
But we were announced this year for KW as a
crazy.
region. But I think it's just because previously it was lumped in as UK as a whole.
Sure.
But it was really funny. I was like, I've been here for 5 years. So many people are coming up to me saying, Congrats. Yeah. But, I mean, hey, it's just more exposure for the office. So it's great.
Wow. And then, so are they still at that salaried employee type of mentality still? Or
A lot of Scotland is, for sure. So,
what does that look like? Because I heard like rumblings of that happening possibly in the States, which I think is impossible to happen, but
but there's some companies that do it,
there is.
right? So I think that this is where the value proposition has to be stronger than ever because it's so much less expensive. I'm using quotes for that, right? It's so much less expensive to hire a company and only give them like $1,000 or $500, right? Or $5,000 if you're talking New York money. However, that person does not care if your home sells.
That's right.
Because
that's what I think.
yeah,
They're on salary.
exactly. So if we're not telling that story of, hey, I only make money if you sell, right? So how much effort do you think I'm going to put into this versus someone that's going to walk home with a check every other Friday, whether or not your home sells, right? And having that conversation. And if you do go this route, they don't care if it sells. How much longer is it going to sit on the market? How much more money are you going to bleed out every week, every month?
How do
from
you
it not
negotiate
selling?
for you?
Yeah, and and I'm going to look at this as an opportunity. The opportunity that I think the UK has that is very different here is you can sign an agreement to work with an agent. Every other agent can keep calling that seller. So there's no rules around you can't call a seller if they're signed with someone else. So I think that is a big opportunity because I think, hey, those are the rules, play within the rules and the competition's fair.
Sure.
There's so much of an opportunity for agents there who are commissioned to go after the sellers that are of the other one and showing them like, hey, here's the value. Hey, here's my track record. Hey, here's what I'm doing. Has your agent done an open house for you? Here's why open houses help. Creating media, social media around it, saving it, sending it to those sellers because I think I personally feel it's probably an easy way to pick sellers away because they already have their hand up, they want to sell. And if you give them the value and show them the track record of how you can make it happen versus these companies that are salaried, I just think it's an easy in and an easy opportunity for those agents.
Wow. Okay, so what happens after that now? Back in the States, what do you...
Yeah, so after that, back to the States. Erin has not held her team accountable to doing the things that they need to do because I was like, look at these fun opportunities I get to go do. And so team falls apart. And so it's back to rebuilding. And, I said before, I'm such a rebel. And I think sometimes painfully I have to learn lessons the hard way. And then if it's not hard enough, I need to learn it again even harder.
Sure.
But that lesson was loud and clear. Like, no more opportunities until you have built a wall around the opportunities that you have here in the city.
Okay.
So that came with new mentalities of new hires. We spoke about it in the car. Now I'm doing yet a new hire because just the way that I look at the transaction coordinator and the admin was putting way too much plate on that or way too much stuff on that person. And I was kind of setting them up for failure. And so now I'm rehiring to take things off of that person's plate, but also to take things off of my plate because the truth of the matter is I still love being on the phones. I still love the win of getting the listing signed. Yeah. So that is my focus now is just getting all that stuff off of my plate so I can spend more time with the agents, more time recruiting, and most importantly, more time bringing in more at-bats for everyone on the team, including myself.
How's it going?
It's actually going pretty well. I'm excited. I have 2 people this week. I got an idea from a woman. She's on David Knight's team. Her name is Amber Wass over in California. She explained to me this whole idea of a runner. And I'd never heard that before in Manhattan. I think because a lot of it, when I was like, what's a runner? She's like, they go and put out lock boxes. I'm like, we don't have that. She's like, they go and put out signs. I'm like, well, we don't have that either. She was like going through all this stuff. I was like, we don't have these things. And then I sat with it and I was like, oh, wait a second. But I have this and I have this and I have this and I have this. And I wrote out on top of my missing persons report all of this stuff. And I was like, wait, that's what this role is. And it'll also be admin because they'll take things off of the agent's plate, their boots on the ground, they'll meet photographers, things like that.
Sure.
But they're also just hustle and running around. And so now she gave me the great idea. She's like, well, why don't you just hire someone for a day? See if they do what you need them to do. And if they do, they're hired. And if they don't, on to the next. So I have someone coming tomorrow and I have someone on Friday.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's going well.
Where are we now with your team? Like, what are you looking to accomplish in 2025 and going forward? Like, what's your world look like?
Yes.
Because I know it's again, it's the grind.
Yeah.
It's always about the grind, and it's always about building and getting better,
Mm-hmm.
learning from our mistakes and then growing it. What kind of ideas do you have going on right now? Like, what's your world look like?
Yeah. So now with the team, I think what I'm learning is, I'm going to be 39 this year. I'm unfortunately not finding the fountain of youth to turn things backwards. So what I realize is if I'm going to grind in a way that brings me joy. So most of the time, right? The rest of it kind of sucks. But, if I can bring the majority to bring me joy, then that's great.
Sure.
So what we realized is the people that we really like working with, right? We've created an avatar, and I've had this avatar for years. However, I think over the last probably 6 months, we've really been changing our value proposition to be more dedicated to that avatar. So, our avatar is someone that is very successful because they're out doing their own job. They value agents for what they bring to the table. And sometimes they don't live in the city, right? They're from outside of the country or whatever it may be, but that person wants a service that is done for them. So now our biggest thing is our new commission menu for sellers. So we have a commission menu from 2.5 to 3.5. 2.5 is basically, hey, look, we're going to come and do our circle prospecting. We're going to bring in a stager. But at the end of the day, you're going to take what needs to be done. You're going to do it. You're going to pay for it. You're going to do the manual labor or hire somebody to do the manual labor, get all that done, the touch-ups, the fixes, et cetera. 3%, we're going to split it basically. And then 3.5% is what we call the get it done for you. So they basically give us the keys. We're going to, as an example, we have a property on the Upper West Side right now. We got the painting done. We got, junk luggers in there to get everything out that they don't want. We have staging coming on Friday. We're going to get photos the start of next week, right? They just had to give us the keys, and we're going to handle the rest for them. We're going to get it sold, but we're going to be at a higher commission. But that client is the client that we're mainly geared towards because they don't want to do it, right? They don't want to interview stagers. They don't want to have a say in what goes in it. They just want to be like, oh, you know what you're doing?
Sure.
Great. I'll pay you for it. Exactly. And let's go. So that's what we're really focused on.
How do you see it mostly going? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
There. How is it mostly going? And I know you don't have a crystal ball, but if it's me, I'm going, you do it all.
Yeah, we're seeing that. We're seeing a lot of that. I'm not seeing any. We've one person recently who went 2.5, and he's actually in the grumbles right now because he's having to get all the stuff for staging.
Imagine,
so I wouldn't be surprised if I get a call tomorrow when we go there to stage, and I'll be like, you just do it. We'll figure out this. But yeah, because they just don't want to have to do it, right? They just want to set and forget it. However, what I will say is that doesn't come without a track record. So we've been super purposeful on getting, we have a great editing team that does this stuff for YouTube, but they've edited videos for us to do this and that on like all the expireds that we've taken over. And I think, we did a lot of stuff at the 2.5 commission and me doing staging and me doing other things and the team doing things because we needed to build that track record so that now we can go into them and I can tell a seller, like 97.8% of the expired listings that we take, we sell. Wow. And here's why, right? And then when we show them the numbers and we show them the data, it's a lot easier for us to have the buy-in from them to go with that package.
So I know this answer, but I just want you to tell me, where do you do predominantly all your business?
It's predominantly, I would say 65% Manhattan.
Okay.
And then probably 35%. There's like 1 or 2 deals we'll do in Queens.
Okay.
But I would say most of it this year is Manhattan, or at least it's seeming to be. But that's including rentals. And then Brooklyn's the rest of it. But if we're just counting sales, it's probably a 50-50. We just have a management company that we do all their rentals for in Manhattan.
Oh, from Manhattan. And
Yeah.
then, but Brooklyn, you're doing a lot of business in
I
Brooklyn
would say it's
also.
probably 50-50 sales.
Okay.
But I think because of that management company, if we're looking at the total business, that's what would swing us towards Manhattan.
Awesome. Okay. And then what do you see it? Like, where do you see the market right now? We were talking about this. Is
Yeah.
it a calm market? Is it a tornado? What's going on out there? Like, what are you seeing and what do you experience now? And I was talking to somebody the other day where they're like, we were talking about this in a car where today could be a tornado, tomorrow it's calm. It looks like it's gearing more towards the calmness again. It's like settling down. What are you seeing?
Yes. Wow. This market. I think this market is the most needed time for someone who is analytically driven as an agent because it is like a tornado. And it is so specific. If you have a 2-bedroom right now on the Upper West Side, it's probably going into a bidding war. If you have a 2-bedroom in Hell's Kitchen, it's probably sitting and needs a price reduction.
Well,
And that's even at a discounted price per square foot. So we have to do so much in terms of what's in contract, what's on the market, getting the feedback. Every Thursday, we call agents in the area of our listings to be like, hey, what are you seeing? How many people did you have at the open house? New listings, hey, can we be at the same time as you? Because maybe they'll get a little bit of an extra pull. So it's very specific to neighborhoods, et cetera, for the sales side, and which obviously for the buyer side. But with our buyers, the conversations we're having is like, look at this opportunity. Like, I think I've been using Warren Buffett's quote more than ever, right? Be greedy when others are fearful and
sure.
fearful when others are greedy. I mean, buyers that have the money, it's just about telling them what's actually going on and explaining to them the opportunity. Because, when they're saying like, oh, I'm not really sure, like we have to have the conversation. And by the way, if an agent is not having this conversation with you, they're doing you a disservice. Because
Sure.
agents right now, if they are your buyer's agent and you sign an exclusive right to represent with them, they should be having the conversation with you. If other people are not buying, this is when you need to step in, because imagine the discount that you can get today. Because as soon as those interest rates go down, as soon as people feel more comfortable and those 10 buyers come out of the woodwork, you feel more comfortable. You've just let your competition take your opportunity away
Sure.
from you. And that I think is so powerful right now for buyers to help them see what they could have, right? We're doing a lot of future casting with buyers, telling them or asking them, not telling them, asking them the story of like, great, in 1 year from now, if you purchase this property, are you going to be thinking about how happy you are in your home? Or are you going to be thinking about the fact that you could have waited for 2 other buyers to be at that open house and
Sure.
make you feel more comfortable?
Well, what do you? What's the answers that you get? It's probably scattered all over the place too, right? Like where certain people are answering different ways, or
Yeah. I mean, I have one client, we've had this conversation a few times, but he's in the financial world and he's like, I'm trying to calm down all my people. Like, I can't even think about calming myself down
sure,
right now. And at the end of the day, we always, and I probably say this in almost every conversation, it's your money, it's not mine. At the end of the day, I'm 100% going to respect what you want to do with your money. And if I don't tell you this, it's on me, right? But at least if we go over all of this, you get to make the best decision for you. I have some sellers even that we're waiting, and I've been telling them since November to list.
stop waiting.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's their money, and we've had the conversations like, hey, remember how we were worth X at this time, and now we're worth X? Do you want to keep going in that direction? You,
It's
if
up to you.
that's yeah, and they've chosen to, and they're living with that, and that's fine because that's the decision that they made. But what we don't want to have happen on our team is we didn't explain this, but all we explained to them was, hey, we should list now, we should list now. And then now we're here and we're at this price. And they're like, oh, it was better then? Like, why didn't you tell
Let us
us?
know.
So, yeah,
So you're always being transparent with them and letting them know all the
absolutely.
time. Well, so 2025, any goals that you want to put out there or anything like that? Or
Yeah, I mean, yes. So our goal for 2025 was to close 80 million.
okay,
We're definitely a little bit off pace for that. I think we can catch back up if we can get into partnership with enough people that believe in that with us. I think that's probably our biggest pain point right now as a team is bringing on enough people, which is absolutely crazy to me that we have so much business that we're losing business,
it's insane.
right? And we can't seem to, I hate the word can't, we are not finding enough people fast enough to join what we're doing. But I think if we definitely have the pipeline and the database to do it. It's just if we can get in relationship with enough people. And then second, I think next year, our goal is going to be revenue-based instead of just volume-based, because I think it changes the mentality of the people that are in it. So that's a future goal. But yeah, this year we're at 80.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what you do.
Yeah, thank you.
One more question for you. If there's anything I can do to help you, what would that be?
Send me some good talent.
There you go.
I need some agents.
I'll keep that in mind. I'll definitely send them your way if I can. Erin, thank you so much. Love to have you back again in the future. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I'm so excited to see you here. And again, I'm so excited when I come into the office and I get that, hello. Love it.
Thanks for having me.
All right.